Interest rates, market value. Should I buy? Should I sell? I'm sure these are great questions you're asking yourself for what you should do in 2022, whether you're buying or selling. My name is Chris Dudley, and I'm a real estate agent with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services PenFed Realty, and I'm licensed in Maryland, Virginia, and the District of Columbia. I'm making this video at the end of 2021 in December, and I wanted to get some thoughts and some ideas out there, maybe some predictions about what we think the market is going to do in 2022. Take a look, and if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to reach out at the end of the video. Thanks for watching. So the first thing I get a question a lot of times from buyers is, what are the rates going to do in 2022? So I've prepared 4 separate slides about what we think the market is going to do in 2022. Take a look. Yeah, so about the beginning of January 2020 to today, we were around 3.7% as an average. And over the year and into today, we are now sitting around 3.1%. for an average Freddie Mac 30-year fixed rate. What's important to note is that the history of mortgage rates over the last 6 years, looking back to 2016 and 17, for example, were in the mid-4s to 4.5%. 2018 and 19, we were close to 5%. 2019, we started to see the drop down to the upper 3s. 2020, we had this distinctive drop down to the low 2s, and starting at the beginning of January of 2020-21, we started to see a slight rise and a decline, and then back again. So really, over the last 6 years, we're only seeing a very, very small increase. And if we do have any kind of increase in value over the next year, it's really, over the historical perspective, still under 5%, so still very low. The question is, does that affect home buying prices? Well, I've got another slide for that. So here's another slide talking about home sales not impacted by rising mortgage rates, except for, of course, the housing crash of 2006. I've got a chart going all the way back to 1989, all the way up to 2020. And if you look here, back in 1989, rates were closer to like 9%. Gosh, 9%, we haven't seen those rates in a long time. But back then, you know, it impacted where houses were selling. We only had 3 million houses sold in 1989. As rates started to decline, as we can see here, we've got, you know, on the 6.94 to 8%, we started to see a massive increase in home sales. As we got to 2005, which was the height of the market before the crash, we had interest rates around 5%, and we had almost 7 million homes sold in that year. Then the crash happened, everything dropped down, and we started to see interest rates coming down. But with that, we started to see home sales going up. And as we see now, rates are starting to creep back up again, but it has not affected the sales happening in our area. So here we are, 2020, 21, and all we've seen is an increase in home sales, as you will now see on the next slide, 22. The mortgage rate projections for 2022, at least for the first and second, third, fourth quarters, are generally the same as we've seen since 2021. And actually, if we go back to that original one, which I showed you a few slides back, which had the rates going up to 5-6%, we really are nowhere close to that. And I think we're still going to stay with these low interest rates, at least for the foreseeable future. So 3.2, maybe 3.3% for the first quarter, and maybe we'll get up to 3.5 to 3.7%. Of course, these numbers are based upon how much you put down and what your credit score is. So don't just assume you'll get these rates. You still have to maintain a fairly good credit and budget in mind. Another question I am often asked by buyers is this a buyer or a seller market? Take a look at this slide right here. I get the question all the time, are we in a buyer's market or are we in a seller's market? Well, that's obviously told by inventory. So if you look at here, 1999, there was a very, below 6 months. So here, below a 5 month, even below a 4 month supply of houses on the market, which makes it a seller's market. Towards 2006, 7, and 8, everybody was trying to sell their homes quickly. So it became a buyer's market because there was a lot on the market, a lot of foreclosures and short sales after we had the collapse in 2006. So a lot of places became a buyer's market. As we have now approached today's market, we're finding ourselves having very little inventory, below a 6-month inventory. So we're actually close to a 3-month inventory right now. It makes a very, very strong seller's market. Another question which I always get when I'm talking to people who want to list their homes to sell is, if I am a seller, when should I list my property? Should I list it now during the winter months, or should I wait until spring market? Here are a few slides which I've put together which may answer that question for you. Okay. So here's a question, guys. When do most listings come on the market? Well, the answer usually is the second quarter of each year. As you can see on our screen right here, April, May, and June, the spring market. Well, the problem is, in our COVID market, we've been finding things going earlier and earlier. So no longer are we looking at the second quarter. We are now looking at this winter, January, February, and March of 2022. Why, you ask me that question, is because, think about this, we have a lot of buyers right now on the market. Interest rates are extremely low right now, still in the maybe upper 2s and low 3s. And also, there's no inventory in the market. Think about that, nothing on the market. So what happens when the spring market hits, April, May, June? Everybody lists their property. If you're listing property in the market, this is a great time to get advantage of the buyers that are already there with the low interest rates. Because the moment this becomes a spring market and everybody lists their property, you're going to have competition to sell. Every buyer is going to be out there and they're going to have choices. It's still going to be a seller's market. There is still low inventory. But now we know, based on this chart right here, that this is the best time to list your property. This is the best time to be a buyer so that you can still ask for everything you want, potentially a home inspection, potentially closing costs, appraisal, and financing, where, as we've seen in the last year, people have been waiving all of those things. Let's take a look at some listing ideas. So the pandemic has delayed plans for many Americans and homeowners looking to move on to the next stage of their life, and that's no exception. Recent survey data suggests that the majority of prospective sellers are actively preparing to enter the market this winter, and that's from economic research from Realtor.com. So here's something else to think about if you're thinking of listing your property. Take a look at these 4 areas here. The first one here, the majority of sellers entering the market in the new year plan to list in the next 6 months. That's from Realtor.com. 65% of them have just listed or plan to list this winter. 93% have already taken steps toward listing their home, including working with an agent. And 36% have researched the value of their home and others in their neighborhood, as well as starting to make repairs and decluttering. So those are the 4 things that have already begun for this winter and listing properties to sell in the winter market. Tying into the home sale forecast and how sales will perform in 2022, take a look at this slide. Here are some home price forecasts for 2022. We've obviously had an extremely good 2021 for home sales. But in 2022, the prediction from Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, MBA, HPES, Zelman, and NAR, and that's the National Association of Realtors, believe that there is going to be between a 2.8 and a 7.4% increase in home price values. So average that together, it's about 5.1% average for all forecasts. That's an increase in value into 2022 and potentially towards the 2023 market. So where a lot of people have been saying that the markets are going to crash, we're not going to have this sustainable market, the general consensus is that we're going to continue to have an increase in value into 2022. And of course, another question, if I buy in this market, this very strong high market, what are the chances that in a couple of years' time, my investment will tank? Now, of course, I can't answer that question, but here are 2 slides that will help you maybe understand the direction that the market is going for this year and potentially into the future. Take a look. Looking at numbers, here we have the home sale forecast that it's probably going to increase this year and will perform well again in 2022. In 2021, for the 4 top people who report, we have 6 to 7 million homes sold in 2021. Now, of course, I'm making this video in December, so we haven't finished the year out, so we don't have exact numbers. We have a prediction that for 2022, it's really going to look very much the same, maybe a little bit better than what we had in 2021. Now, just for your reference, in 2020, we had an average of 6.5 million homes sold in 2020. So 2021 absolutely outperformed the market in 2020. And most likely we're going to see the same, if not a better market for home sales in 2022. So just finishing out our slide presentation here, as you can see, this is a slide to talk about future growth. Now, I just want to read it to you so you don't just assume this is happening. This is the potential growth in household wealth over the next 5 years based solely on increased home equity if you purchased a $350,000 home in January of 2021. And of course, just so you read this here, based on price appreciation projected by the Home Price Expectation Survey. So this is not a guarantee, obviously, but this is what we're expecting the market to do over the next 5 years if you bought a property in January of 2021 for $350,000. And that's the end of my presentation today on the 2022 prediction for the market. Please don't hesitate to reach out to me if you have any questions. Again, my name is Chris Dudley. I am with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, PenFed Realty. I'm a realtor licensed in Maryland, Virginia, and DC. Thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to hearing from you if you have any questions. Take care. Happy holidays. See you in 2022.